Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Thanks for this time for us. I'm Kandi Pamukasari. I'm from Islamic Faculty, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Magelang. I would like to present our article entitled Resilience of Children in Refugee Camps in the Implementation of the Sister Village Program. As introduction, Indonesia is a country that has a high disaster risk index of 34 provinces in the territory of Indonesia. 21 provinces have a high category and 13 provinces are in the medium category. In every natural disaster event, the children are included in a vulnerable group. They are highly dependent on adults and have a physical limitation and knowledge of disaster risk reduction. From every disaster event, more than 30% of the children are injured. The children who survive are the risk of experiencing trauma after a disaster event. In the management of eruption disaster mitigation, in the event of a level 3 emergency situation, firstly, evacuating priorities are the elderly, the children, pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, disabilities, and sick person. When the children in refugee camps are traumatized or feel pressured because an environment far from normal conditions, they can stay long time in the refugee camps until conditions are safe. Helping the children to have resilience in refugee camps is very, very important. Education is a child's right that must be given in any situation. Therefore, in refugee camps, children still have the right to receive according to the objective condition they are experiencing and feeling. The implementation of the Sister Village program through its educational activities is expected to be able to develop better children's systematic resilience because it is held more planned and systematic. The aims of the research to find out the educational activities help the resilience of children in refugee camps in the implementation of the Sister Village program. Methodology of research design is qualitative research, data collection technique with FGD, in-depth interviews, observation, and documentation. FGDs were conducted with 18 volunteers to obtain data on activities to develop children resilience in refugee camps and interviews for children living in refugee camps to obtain data on spirituality, self-efficacy, optimism, social support, self-esteem, observation, and documentation were used to complete the data collected with FGDs and interviews. The sampling technique used purposive sampling with criteria. Volunteers who are actively on duty in the field of education officially at the shelter post or the village of supporters we call Desa Penyangga, when the status of the eruption of Mount Merapi rises to alert level 3. The data analysis technique begins with categorizing, interpreting, and making conclusion. The result of research, the implementation of the Sister Village program in Magelang Regency began with an MOU between villages from disaster-prone areas, we call KRB 3, and supporting villages, we call Desa Penyangga. Furthermore, made contingency plan 2017 and renewed in 2019. In the contingency plan, educational activities are carried out by 3 institutions that share roles and carrying out their respective function, if illustrated as in the figure 1. Al-Quran education or TPA role for instilling spiritual values and strengthen optimism. Number 2, Merapi Emergency School or Sekolah Darurat Merapi, role for strengthen self-efficacy and self-esteem. And number 3, Disaster Risk Reduction Organization or OPRP, a role for provide social support. The next, there are 8 main materials of educational activity is the institutional Al-Quran education give the children in materials Allah the most gracious and merciful, my worship, my spirit, learn Al-Quran, and so on. And Merapi Emergency School give positive self-concept and strong human interaction with the environment, right and interesting experience, the importance of plants for human life and science, and so on. And disaster risk reduction organization give make peace with yourself, safe from eruption, safe from COVID, caring and love, and so on. The next, the graph of the graph of resilience comparison between boys and girls. The blue line is boys, and the red line is girls' condition. Girls are higher in the spiritual aspect and social support than boys. Meanwhile, boys are higher in aspects of optimism, self-esteem, and self-efficacy than girls. Conclusion, our research, the implementation of disaster village program makes the dynamics of activities in the refugee camps more well planned and coordinated. Educational activities in the refugee camps are carried out by 3 institutions that shall role in the building their respective functions. In building child resilience, Al-Quran education, Merapi emergency school, and disaster risk reduction organization. Educational activities organized to develop children's resilience include aspects of spirituality, optimism, self-efficacy, self-esteem, and social support. Educational activities organized can help develop children's resilience well. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.